So what? We're still on version 10, but we're gonna go ahead and do this. First things first, change this logo. Then we're gonna go ahead and make a custom tool which I really use quite often. So I just decided I'm gonna pop it over here and let's do this. Cheer. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and pop up. Well, it's already popped up, but this is the window as to this is the path as of where the Houdini splash logo actually resides. And if you navigate to your H letter over here, you can see the Houdini splash pick. This won't open up in Photoshop because it's some kind of different format. But if you go to uh, Houdini itself and actually go ahead and drop in a file and actually browse for the file, so it should be under. If I just go ahead and pop it up, if you'll let me, just copy the path and go back to Houdini over here, paste it, and say enter, and now I can just go to the H and splash and accept. Go to my composite tab over here. So I got a few tabs set up. If you don't have any set up, you can go ahead and add what you call it, all this kind of good stuff. But mine is already added up, or you can actually just go ahead and add a new paint tab. So composite view over here. Then I got the original splash logo. But if I pop up Photoshop, I got this logo which I worked on like so many months ago. I planned on this tutorial many months ago, but I never did it. Well, not many months, but 3-4 months ago. So this is the logo I had actually worked out some time back, and I'm not really gonna change it. So I'm actually just go ahead and save it. I haven't even done nothing. This is like from way back. So I'm gonna save it under my Houdini 10 textures probably, and name it. I'm gonna put it as a JPEG, and I'm gonna just name it Houdini Pimpin'. That sounds good. So save and large size and okay. Now we're gonna go back to Houdini and we're gonna get that photo now. So I'm just gonna drop in another file, and this particular one is gonna be the one we just did right now. So it's under my Houdini textures, and it's gonna be Houdini Pimpin' JPEG right here. Accept, and as you can see, that's how it looks like. Now all you gotta do now is that you resave it out in the same format as it was earlier on the same drive, on the same folder where the other file is, which the Houdini splashes in, and name it the same way probably. It'd be better thing. Actually, you are supposed to name it the same way. So we're gonna go ahead and do an output. So render output file, and we're gonna be rendering only one frame. So render any range, so it's gonna be only one frame, and we're gonna change the output image to, well, we're gonna paste this over here, say enter, and you might want to save this under a different name for now. So you might want to go ahead and rename it to something else like Houdini Splash original. Rename it something different so that way you can get the whole thing. And while I'm at it, I'm gonna just go ahead and copy this because I'm lazy like that, and go back to my Houdini and save that. Actually, I can just save that as that, accept, and render. That should be done. Now hopefully if I actually go ahead and refresh this, let's see whether it actually reads of the same thing. As you can see now, that's the new Houdini splash logo. And now I'm gonna just go ahead and close out this session and reboot the Houdini session. So I'm gonna close this out, and I really don't want to save anything, so we're good. If we restart Houdini, you get this pimped out logo, and now we set for the first session of creating our own custom tool. So let's do this. Cheer. Okay, so now that you got your new Houdini session popped up, we're gonna go ahead and actually under the file drop down, you can actually see you can create new operator type. So actually this is what we're calling a new custom tool. So you can name it anything and give it a new label, and it can be under all this kind of good stuff and all kind of this network kind of good stuff. And in our particular session, we want to create a tool that actually go, well, not really a tool, but an operator that actually goes from one session to the other. So it's not actually just on the current heap file, but on every scanned OTL directory. So I don't really know how to use all this good stuff, but I'm gonna go ahead and for one, drop in my geometry. You can rename it to anything, and I'm gonna drop in a grid after that. So a grid, just to implement the texture implementation, of which I do quite often. That's why I'm using this, and just make it stand up. Now I'll be using VOPs in a particular instance, because you could actually use points up and the expressions and the stuff, then put it under subnet and make it kind of a tool, I guess. But SOPs is kind of slow, so we're actually gonna skip the whole thing and actually go to VOPs directly. So under managers, you're gonna drop in a VOP network, and you might want to rename it to anything. So VOP color or anything that you want. Then you can drop in a new operator type, which in our case would be a SOP type, because we want to deal on the surface operators. So SOP, and you can name it pretty much anything. So it's colorize in my case, and you can name it. Now this is what is going to show up in the tab menu, so you can name it anything that you want. So colorize version 2.0, I would say. Minimum input is 1 and maximum input is 1. And yes, you want to show it in the tab menu. And now if I actually go back up, if I tab, actually got a digital asset which is actually called colorize version 2.0. That was not earlier there a few minutes ago, or a few seconds ago. Now I can go back inside, actually dive on both of those, and now I'm actually be colorizing this grid. And for one, I'm gonna need some information from the grid, which is actually UV data, which has to flow from the grid part. So I'm gonna go ahead and import some attributes from the grid, which in our case is actually UV data. So UV data, which is actually a vector float, and it's coming in from the fast port. Actually, I only have one port, so it's actually 0. And for one, UV actually outputs a 3 vector float. But in our case, since we're gonna be using a color map, so I'm gonna drop that down, which actually needs float values from the green color over here, which is actually kind of a pale, well, not as bright as this one, which actually means a float. I'm about to break down the vector into a float, so I can actually do that by converting the vector to a float, or coming to the vector and saying vector to float. Same thing. So vector to float. Then now it actually breaks down the vector into the proper components of the UV data, which actually is a U, V, and W. But we're actually only going to be using the